Think about the last time you put sugar in your coffee, or poured it into a cake batter, or grabbed a soda, a candy bar, a bottle of juice, a bowl of cereal. Because the truth is that almost everything processed or packaged that you eat or drink has sugar somewhere inside it. Sugar is so woven into the fabric of daily life that most people never once stop to think about where it actually comes from. Not the bag on your shelf, not the factory that packed it, the very beginning. The plant, the field, the machine, the mill. Because before that sugar was white and fine and sitting in a paper bag in your kitchen, it was a 12-foot-tall brass growing in a field in Louisiana or Florida or Hawaii, full of raw, sweet juice that had to be cut, crushed, boiled, clarified, crystallized, and dried before it became anything close to what you know. The world produces over 2 billion tons of sugarcane every single year, and the story of how it gets from a tropical field to your kitchen table is one of the most dramatic, most industrial, and most globally significant food stories in human history. Today, we are going inside that story. Let's go. Sugarcane is one of the most widely grown crops on the entire planet. Brazil is by far the world's largest producer, growing nearly half of all global sugarcane on its own. India comes second, followed by China, Thailand, Pakistan, and the United States. Within the U.S., Louisiana, Florida, and Texas are the primary producing states, with the Mississippi Delta and the Everglades agricultural area in southern Florida being the heartlands of American sugarcane production. Florida alone produces over 20 million tons of sugarcane every year from roughly 500,000 acres of flat, rich tropical land just north of the Everglades. The scale is genuinely hard to comprehend. Driving through Florida's sugarcane region in harvest season, you can travel for an hour in any direction and still be surrounded by cane fields. It looks less like farmland and more like a green ocean, stretching flat to the horizon in every direction, moving gently in the warm subtropical wind. Before we get into the harvest, you need to understand something about sugarcane that most people find genuinely surprising. Sugarcane is not a fruit, not a vegetable, not a root crop. It is a grass, one of the tallest commercially grown grasses on Earth, reaching heights of 10 to 15 feet in a single growing season. And like most grasses, it does not grow from seed in commercial production. It grows from cuttings. Farmers plant sections of mature cane stalk called seed cane or sets, which are laid horizontally in furrows and covered with soil. From these cuttings, new shoots emerge from the nodes along the stalk, push upward through the soil, and begin a new plant. What makes sugarcane particularly remarkable is that after the first harvest, the root system left in the ground, called the ratoon, sends up new shoots and produces another crop without any replanting at all. A well-managed ratoon can produce 2, 3, sometimes 4 or 5 more crops from the same root system over several years before productivity declines and the field needs to be replanted. This means sugarcane farming operates on multi-year crop cycles in a way that few other major commodities do, and the health of the ratoon is one of the most important things a cane farmer manages. The sugarcane growing season in Florida runs from planting in late summer and fall through harvest between October and March, a schedule dictated by the subtropical climate and the operation of the sugar mills, which run continuously during harvest season and shut down completely during the summer when it is too hot and rainy to harvest efficiently. The cane grows for 12 to 18 months before its first harvest, during which time it develops the high sucrose content that makes it valuable. Soil and water management are critical during this period. Florida's sugarcane region sits on organic muck soils, ancient decomposed plant material that is incredibly fertile, but also requires careful water level management through an extensive system of canals and pumping stations to prevent both flooding and drought. The water management infrastructure of the Everglades agricultural area is one of the most complex agricultural water systems in the world, and managing it is an engineering challenge that runs 24 hours a day throughout the growing season. When harvest arrives, the first thing that happens on many Florida sugarcane farms is something that shocks people the first time they see it. The fields are set on fire. Pre-harvest burning removes the dry outer leaves from the cane stalks, a layer called the trash or the leaf sheath, which would otherwise clog harvesting machines and contaminate the juice at the mill. The fire moves through the dry trash rapidly, burning hot and fast, while the green, moisture-filled stalks themselves do not burn. After burning, the field is cleared of debris and the stalks stand clean and ready for the harvester. Burning is not universal. Some operations use green harvesting systems that process the trash mechanically rather than burning it, but buyer-based burning remains common in many major producing regions around the world and is one of the most visually dramatic moments in all of agriculture. The sugarcane harvester is one of the most impressive machines in food production. It moves slowly down a row of cane, using a rotating base cutter at the front to slice the stalks cleanly at ground level. The stalks fall into the machine, where a series of rollers called the feeding rolls grab them and push them horizontally through a chopper that cuts the entire stalk into short sections called billets, typically about a foot long each. A cleaning system, fans, and extractor hoods blows away remaining leaves and debris from the billets as they travel up an elevator toward the output. The clean billets are then thrown by the output elevator into a large field wagon running alongside the harvester, driven by a separate tractor. A modern sugarcane harvester can cut and process an entire row of 12-foot cane at a rate of about 1 acre per hour, operating continuously around the clock during harvest season, with operators working in shifts. The machines never stop unless they break down or need fuel, because the mills they supply never stop either. From the field wagons, the billets are transferred to large semi-trailers and hauled directly to the sugar mill, and this is where the story becomes truly industrial. Every sugar mill operates on an extremely tight schedule during harvest season because freshly cut sugarcane begins losing its sucrose content through a process called inversion within hours of being cut. The sugars in the juice start converting into other forms that cannot be crystallized into white sugar, which means every hour the cane sits in a truck rather than being processed is an hour of irreversible quality loss. Mills are therefore designed to operate continuously and to process incoming cane as fast as it arrives. The journey from field to mill to finished sugar is measured not in days, but in hours. At the mill, the billets go through a series of crushing rollers, massive metal cylinders operating under enormous pressure that squeeze every possible drop of juice out of the cane fiber. The fiber that remains after crushing, called bagasse, is not wasted. It goes directly to the mill's boilers for fuel, where it is burned to generate the steam and electricity that powers the entire mill operation. A well-run sugar mill is essentially energy self-sufficient. The crop fuels its own processing. The extracted juice is dark green and cloudy, full of impurities and organic material. It goes through a clarification process where lime is added to cause the impurities to settle out, leaving clearer juice above. The clarified juice is then concentrated by evaporation in a series of vessels until it becomes a thick syrup. The syrup is boiled in large vacuum pans, causing sugar crystals to form. The crystals and the remaining liquid, called molasses, are separated by centrifuges that spin at high speed, throwing the molasses off the crystals and leaving raw sugar behind. That raw sugar is then dried, cooled, and moved to storage, where it waits to be shipped to refineries that will process it further into the refined sugar that eventually reaches your kitchen. The people behind this industry span an enormous range of roles and backgrounds. In the United States, the large integrated sugarcane operations in Florida and Louisiana employ thousands of workers: machinery operators, irrigation engineers, field supervisors, mill technicians, chemists, and skilled tradespeople of every kind. A significant portion of the seasonal and year-round agricultural workforce is Latino, primarily from Mexico, Central America, and the Caribbean, with many workers returning to the same farms and mills season after season for years or decades. In Florida specifically, the H-2A guest worker program brings thousands of Caribbean workers, many from Jamaica and other island nations, to harvest cane every season under conditions that historically have been the subject of serious scrutiny and, in more recent years, meaningful improvement efforts by the industry. In Brazil and India, the scale of sugarcane labor is vastly larger and the conditions more variable, with millions of workers involved in what remains one of the most physically demanding agricultural jobs in the world. The sugar in your coffee has a human story behind it that is every bit as complex and important as the industrial story. The challenges facing the sugarcane industry globally are significant. Climate change is disrupting growing seasons and increasing the frequency of damaging tropical storms that can flatten standing cane before harvest.
water availability and water quality, particularly in Florida, where the sugarcane industry's relationship with the Everglades ecosystem is politically and environmentally contentious, is an ongoing issue of national concern. Labor costs and labor shortages are driving rapid mechanization, even in regions that historically relied heavily on hand cutting. And the global push to reduce sugar consumption for health reasons is creating long-term demand uncertainty for an industry built on century-old infrastructure. Yet the industry continues to adapt. Brazilian producers lead the world in converting sugarcane not just into sugar, but into ethanol fuel, making sugarcane one of the most efficient bioenergy crops on the planet. New varieties bred for higher sucrose content and disease resistance are being developed continuously. And precision agriculture technology is being applied to cane farming in ways that would have been unimaginable a generation ago. The next time you stir sugar into your morning coffee or unwrap a piece of candy, take 1 second to think about where it started. A cutting of cane stalk pressed into